I think the SEC is going to win. And I tell you, it's going to be a bad day for crypto if they do.
Okay,
right.
we're going to put that dinner on that?
Steak.
Steak, you got it. Okay.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Bearable Bull here. And I got this aggressively average content for you today, as man Charles Gasparino is having a tough time dealing with his own copium on Twitter. Charles Gasparino absolutely lost in his prediction of an SEC victory against Ripple. Now he owes John Deaton a steak dinner. And this is a message to John Deaton right now. Really make him pay. Really make him pay. And go find Salt Bay. Order the most expensive tomahawk. And let him do the little flick of the wrist with that salt on his plate, my friend. Oh, Charles Gasparino is acting like an insecure Bitcoin maxi as he keeps finding ways to spin this massive Ripple XRP victory into a negative, stating so does Ripple just have $1 billion in cash lying around to pay whatever fine they'll have to pay. He keeps trying to justify and tell retail investors that this is some sort of loss, when every single individual in the XRP army has always and ever has stated, nobody cares if Ripple has to pay a fine. Nobody gives a damn because Ripple has that cash reserve ready to pay any and everything. Ripple has braced to pay a fine. Ripple was ready for impact. And the only thing that matters to us XRP holders is that XRP is deemed a non-security. We got our token relisted on so many exchanges. Liquidity's coming back. The price has gone up explosively. And we're gearing up for another leg, in my opinion. And my message to Charles Gasparino is, fire your PR team, because I've never seen anyone drop the ball as hard as he has. How do you have the finger on the pulse of the XRP community and then become hated due to your 180 stance? Ladies and gentlemen, he really could have just kept going with the flow and enjoying the fruits of our labor, the research and publicity we've given him and Fox on this issue. But I guess Fox hasn't really given that much of a damn about views recently, am I right? Anyways, my friends, this continues to be a massive victory. And I continue to see the copium being dealt with by Bitcoin maxis and XRP haters every single day. That's why I keep telling every single one of you to get your Fuck the SEC t-shirt from my aggressively average apparel store down in the description below while you still can. Because I'm making a massive collage of everyone in the XRP community that gets one of these t-shirts as a big massive fuck you to Gary and all the Bitcoin maxis. On the heels of this victory, this is not just a huge financial win for us. This is a symbol of everything we've ever gone through. And in this week, we've not only just had the judge rule that XRP is not a security, but we've had US inflation falling to 3%. Europe is launching their first spot Bitcoin ETF. A former SEC chairman says a spot Bitcoin ETF should be approved. Coinbase relisted XRP. $9 trillion asset manager BlackRock's Larry Fink stated crypto will transcend international currencies due to global demand. The SEC acknowledged the BlackRock application. The SEC acknowledged Fidelity, VanEck, WisdomTree, and Invesco's spot Bitcoin ETF application. And in Australia, the Australian SEC received its first spot Bitcoin ETF application. This is absolutely massive. And not only that, but lawyers saying right here, right now, that Ripple's lawsuit will be overturned in appeals is absolutely wrong. In my opinion, it's very possible that the SEC won't even appeal at all. As like we've always known, the SEC has always gained from current confusion in this market And going to appeals will most likely end with an even further stomping of the boot on the neck of the SEC. Ladies and gentlemen, the SEC is just going to take their L, in my opinion, and keep it pushing, because they still need to go for the rest of the crypto market. And with how thoroughly they've been dominated by Ripple, I highly doubt they're going to lose the opportunity in their own minds by appealing an already confirmed decision. That's just speculation, ladies and gentlemen, but there are big reasons for it. And it's not unfounded, not even for a second. I can't stress to all of you how big of a fuck you of a moment this was for the SEC. But even still, people are dealing with the copium of this Ripple victory. Here, we have Bitcoin maxis gone wild posted by DAI, stating Tone Vays, notorious XRP hater, thinking Ripple could go out of business now that they won this lawsuit because he's a Bitcoin maxi. And he actually believes they lost. Ripple will most likely have to pay some sort of fine for their sales of XRP as a security at some point. And we've always discussed this and known this is real, a very real possibility. But like I've said before, I'll say again, Ripple is braced for impact. But listen to the irrational maxis dig their heels in.
If the company goes down, the token will go down anyway, which would actually prove the thesis that it's a security.
I agree. Right. Well, again, like the only way, and Joe is listening in. Joe, I would love for you to chime in. So the only way is if, first of all, the SEC is going to try to appeal. I don't, in my opinion, they're probably not going to be successful, but they're going to try to appeal that the two parts that they lost. And if the SEC is able to, go after Ripple the company for $700 million, and they're able to prevent Ripple the company from selling more tokens, and they're able to prevent the founders from selling their personal billion-dollar wealth in the tokens, then Ripple the company may not have $700 million to pay back the SEC.
It's not 700 million, Tone. It's not seven. They did 728 million in sales, and I think the actual profits are something like 2.5 billion. So disgorgement would be any ill-gotten gains. So it's the original sale plus any profits. So I think it's closer to 2.8, 2.7, somewhere there.
Profits by Ripple the company.
Correct, sir.
Okay, but here's the thing, right? But since there were no victims, how is the SEC going to be able to,
No, there are victims.
Where's that money going to go?
There are victims. The victims, ironically, were the institution in the eyes of the SEC. And don't shoot me. I'm just giving you the SEC's narrative. They're the victims. Ironically, are not retail who bought through programmatic sales, because Judge Torres found that retail didn't know they were buying from Ripple the company and the blind order books through the programmatic sales. The victims in this case, according to the SEC, would be the institutional investors who purchased it early on and had that expectation of profit based on the documents that were given to them. So effectively, they purchased unregistered securities. So those are identifiable.
No, but they all pretty much made money, right? So when you say victims, right, according to the SEC, you're a victim. It's kind of like, hey, you're a victim because some guy handed you $100 bill, and that was an illegal handover of $100. So where's the money going to go if the SEC is able to go after the $2 billion?
So in the event that victims are not truly identifiable or viable, as repayment, the money goes back to Treasury.
And ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. This, as Tony from Thinking Crypto stated, is a toxic Bitcoin maxi that says Ripple, after its victory against the SEC, is going out of business, and XRP is still a security. And ladies and gentlemen, as I stated on Twitter, his hairline went out of business a long time ago. And the copium in all angles of life for Tone Vays is very, very real. Now, as far as some of the topics about repayment for a fine from Ripple is concerned, we have no idea what the real value is. Some people say 700 million. They were talking about 2.8 billion. Regardless, Ripple the company is going to be fine. And what people are going to realize is that The deviation between Ripple and XRP is going to stand out in the coming days, weeks, and months. XRP has never gone up with positive Ripple news. Instead, it's only ever followed the crypto market. But here, right now, I believe Ripple the company is going to have a little setback, while XRP the token is going to thrive immensely. And I couldn't cap off this video for today without giving you this message from Panos. Many are currently disappointed about the current price action of XRP and expected much more after the victory. Even though on my channel I've been saying we should get a nice pump. We received a pump in the exact target range we predicted. But now we're pulling back. But what I have to stress is don't forget that this is only the beginning of not just XRP price action, but for the full-blown adoption of this ecosystem. Right now, the doors are open for bigger adoption and more use cases with no more obstacles. And some of the big developments coming up for XRP are sidechains, especially the EVM and Hook sidechains. Hooks, which will give native smart contracts for XRP. Automated market makers, which I have promoted and shilled at the top of my lungs on this channel for a while, which is an upgraded DEX with income earning opportunities for XRP and more liquidity on the network. And FXRP on the Flare network, which too many people have written off at this moment in time. Ladies and gentlemen, stay the course. This is the greatest wealth building opportunity of this decade, in my opinion. And if you're not getting it by now, you're just not getting it. Don't prescribe yourself with copium like the Bitcoin maxis. Dig your heels in to the false reality of XRP not dominating the market, because it absolutely will. We're going to take over the space. We're going to have the best bull run next cycle, and we will become the new 1%. Ladies and gentlemen, to cap off this video for today, I'm going to leave you with this interview on Fox Business that John Deaton had, further explaining the extent of the victory for XRP and the XRP army, as I feel like it's well worth a watch for every single one of you. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Bearable Bull here. Thanks for tuning in. As always, I appreciate every single one of you. Now I'll be back tomorrow with another video.
In the world of crypto over the SEC, after a 3-year court battle, a federal judge ruling that crypto tokens sold to the public are not securities. Joining me now, crypto law founder John Deaton to react. And John, let me just look a little bit here. Just share a little bit of what Judge Annalisa Torres of the Southern District of New York sort of issued here. That when Ripple sold XRP to institutional investors and over-the-counter trades with due diligence and investment agreements, it was a quote-unquote investment contract, and so a security offering. When Ripple sold XRP to retail investors on exchange trades anonymously with no disclosure, that it was not an investment contract, so not a securities offering. So it doesn't necessarily feel like there's clarity here, but the world of crypto is treating this as a major victory.
It is a major victory. But first, I had to be here, Charles, in person in studio with you, because you're one of the few that have told this story from the retail investor.
Thank you.
Other channels don't. So I'm here to thank you for that. Monumental victory. And it's good news for Coinbase. Basically, what we fought, the 75,000 XRP holders that challenged the SEC, we were saying, listen, you can't expand investment contracts to people on exchanges where there's a blind bid and ask. How do you rely on the efforts of someone you don't know is selling you the token? And that's what the judge did. She said direct sales by Ripple to hedge funds, they were relying on Ripple and it was more like an investment contract. Mm-hmm. But when you go on an exchange and the buyer on the exchange doesn't know who's selling, it's a blind bid ask situation, how do you rely? And so all she did was apply the law and we won. Huge victory for crypto. When I was on your show, I wore my XRP shirt. I'm wearing my entire crypto shirt. Right?
You got the whole fit there, my man.
Because it's good news for all of crypto. You know what I
But
mean?
the story's not over, is it? I mean, we know Gary Gensler, for whatever reason, I feel like he's been talking out of both sides of his mouth from the very beginning of this. And particularly, look, before he was in this job, he, as a professor, seemed like he had a whole different take on this, looked like he was more embracing of it. I'm not sure if it comes with the job that you have to sort of, I don't know what went wrong, but he has become sort of like Captain Ahab and crypto in general, but specifically this case feels like Moby Dick.
Absolutely. But just think of this. In 2018 at MIT, he said 75% of the market are commodities. All of a sudden, he becomes SEC chair. Elizabeth Warren, his pal, goes on this anti-crypto agenda and campaign, and all of a sudden, everything's a security except Bitcoin. And he got called out today.
Is it legally a move that the SEC can make now? Is there it always seems like there's something.
Well, there's always something. Listen,
what are you bracing for?
What I'm bracing for is there's going to be a jury trial with the two executives, but there's going to be appeals. But this is what Gary Gensler is going to do. He's either going to read the tea leaves. You got Larry Fink coming out adopting crypto, and you got this ruling. That's massive news for crypto. But I wouldn't be surprised if Gary Gensler digs his heels in and we see another enforcement action yet soon.
In the meantime, you just read my mind for my next question in terms of adoption. A lot of folks on the street who 2 years ago said we'd never be involved in this, and they're like, yeah, we're going to get involved. I mean, so the credibility factor has gone up. You can't argue when the largest entities on Wall Street say we want a piece of the action. So it feels like between that, you start to look at supply and demand, where all the cryptos are, off balance sheet from. It feels like crypto, particularly Bitcoin, on the cusp of a major move higher. It just feels that way if you read the tea leaves on the hoarding of crypto, the hoarding of Bitcoin, some of these major announcements, the legal victories, and some of the big players coming in.
Absolutely. 75% of Bitcoin hasn't moved in a year. So those people are holding.
That's what you call diamond hands.
Absolutely. And you and I talked about something, and when I talked about what's going to happen is when the traditional players come in after they crush the market and they get a bigger slice, then all of a sudden we'll see a different sway. And you told me, John, that's been going on for decades, right? And so I think that's what we're seeing. Right. But when the largest asset manager in the world gets on TV and starts talking about Bitcoin and crypto revolution finance, it's changed.
Well, I'm glad you made it in, John, because you are a hero. You are a hero. There's so many people, I see small investors fighting these fights, and Wall Street puts up these fortresses. They try to, they've got unlimited budgets, and still people are not blinking. That 75%, those diamond hands are a whole lot of small investors who believe, and you helped them a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Charles.
Appreciate it.
Why do I hold XRP? Because Ripple's the chosen one to lead the new global digital payment system, and they use XRP. In 2013, the Federal Reserve began looking for faster payments options. 2 years later, an action plan was born and a federal payments task force was created. It included one company focused on crypto, Ripple. In 2014, the World Bank and Better Than Cash Alliance, which includes the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Clinton Global Initiative, and the governments of 32 countries, put out a report called The Opportunities of Digitizing Payments. 1 year later, the Better Than Cash Alliance featured one crypto company on their website, Ripple. Today, Better Than Cash Alliance and all other UN initiatives are focused on a single agenda, the Sustainable Development Goals for 2030. You can see the SDGs logo on Bill Gates' lapel, world-leading companies, the Better Than Cash Alliance website, and on the UN's official exchange, Exchange. What crypto is Exchange officially utilizing for their carbon credit solution? XRP. The world will move to a new international standard for exchanging electronic messages between financial institutions by 2025 called ISO 20022. Who was the first ISO 20022 member focused on distributed ledger technology? Ripple. Who's partnered with over 300 financial institutions, including Bank of America, American Express, PNC, Santander, SBI, HSBC, Standard Chartered Bank, Bank of England, India, Singapore, Scotland, Australia, and Indonesia, the largest banks in Japan, Canada, Egypt, the Middle East, United Arab Emirates, Thailand, Morocco, Bhutan, South Korea, Brazil, and Latin America? Ripple. Who is a former employee overseeing the Federal Reserve? Ripple. A former employee overseeing the world's largest asset manager, BlackRock's digital asset division? Ripple. Leading Australia's CBDC effort? Ripple. Who hired a former Treasury of the United States? Ripple. 2 former Federal Reserve attorneys to their board? Ripple. 2 former Clinton and Obama advisors, former Minister of Defense and Economics of Germany, former business director at Swift, former Swift board member, former CFO of PayPal, former head of the DTCC, former chief business officer at Uber, former VP of Amazon, and former SEC chair on their legal team? Ripple, who's a member of the Digital Pound Foundation, Digital Dollar Project, Digital Euro Association, Mojaloop, IMF's High-Level Advisory Board on FinTech, Hyperledger Blockchain Consortium, Open Payments Coalition, Faster Payments Council, Global Payments Steering Group, Cross-Border Working Group, International Association for Trusted Blockchain Applications, Crypto Climate Accord, University Blockchain Initiative, World Wide Web Consortium, and a featured partner of the World Economic Forum with 3 members of their team directly listed on the WF website, Ripple. Now, does Ripple and XRP sound like they're going to disappear, or do they sound like they're part of a much bigger plan? You decide.